Welcome to the It's More Than Just Money movement channel. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, remember you're missing out on the amazing interviews that we are having and dropping every Monday on the Winner Circle on the It's More Than Just Money movement channel. So click on that subscribe button, click on the notifications bell. Today, I'm sitting with Mr. Vusi Cwane. He's an entrepreneur, he's a restaurateur, and then he's a business person. And guys, you know, I always say that I'm more interested in the story more than I am in the glory. You know, a lot of people, Mr. Cwane, they always look at what does a person achieve, you know?
Correct.
But they don't take time to think about what are the steps that a person has taken over the years. What are the sacrifices behind that?
Yeah.
And for me, firstly, I want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to have that conversation with you, and also to hear a lot more about your story in terms of your beginnings. Where does it start? What were the challenges and what were the opportunities that are accessed over the years?
No, thank you very much. And I think it's an afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone that has an interest in this interview. I truly appreciate the opportunity. As it's been said, I'm Vusi Cwane. I am an entrepreneur, retired now in terms of work, although I don't know if that definition is correct because it looks like since I officially retired, I actually got even more engaged in work.
More busier.
So yes, retirement may be something that we accord as a word, but not in reality. The reason why I'm mentioning that is that my background is corporate. And interestingly, it's actually not entrepreneurial. Okay. I'm a corporate person, and I have been with, I spent most of my life in particular, I think I could safely say between 36 and maybe 35 and 36 years, working for large corporates, large companies, until I think it was around 2014 when I had a chat with a colleague to say, one can carry on working for people, yes, and benefit from what's been created, benefit from the brands, its systems, processes, and earn a salary. But if you want to make a real difference, one needs to think a little bit beyond, because corporates can help us in terms of preparing us, in terms of giving us those initial skills. But at some point, you need to use them to actually make an even greater difference in society. I did have an immediate challenge now, not that at the time I was planning to just step out completely. And the challenge was that I had said to, unfortunately, my late wife now, that, would she be interested in stepping out of the teaching profession that she was qualified for and actually starting a business for ourselves, which I would be a part-time too. And who knows what will happen later on.
And is that the year 2014?
That was around the year 2014, yes. And then with COIC, we did some little bit of research in terms of what was possible. And I think the notable access point was through a franchise. Probably through this interview, if you don't mind, let me not mention the name of the franchise, but it was through a franchise. And then also it was matching primarily for her, what is it that she was passionate about? And her passion, besides obviously school and teaching and education, was in food. And I've always carried the belief that if you want to succeed in business, you've got to also bring your passion into it. So we identified opportunities in that space, and luckily we found partners that we partnered on in a restaurant. It's actually a very big franchise. And that franchise, we were given the opportunity to run it since 2015 at one of the centers in Pretoria. I'm happy to say that I actually was one of the people that actually opened it and one of the initial tenants in there. but it was to be operated by her. And that's where, obviously, from a family side, because the business side of it, it was actually, it's ours, and as a family business, but from the franchise, it belongs to a major franchise. So that's how the journey started. Personally, as Vusi, I carried on in corporate, did lots of roles in there. I was very much active, of course, on weekends, part-time in terms of this. And I knew that success and opening doors for the future did depend on this particular opportunity being successful. But if I fast forward, we actually, thought that perhaps at some point we might need to expand. And then how do we expand? And it was just a few years later when we thought that, do we perhaps, take an interest in other franchise operations, because there were lots of opportunities in that regard, until my late wife said, no. What about our own? How about doing something that perhaps, when we talked about it, for me, it would be a legacy project. It would be a retirement project. It would be something that would be an inspiration for other people. It would be something that would be visionary. It would be something that would make us depart from the doctrines of a franchise proposition, where we actually are now the franchisors ourselves, if you will, and building things from scratch. And in particular, showing that it could be done. And I've got to say that happened around the year 2017 when that concept came true. And I have to, and I'm not shy to say this in your channel, that at that stage, both my wife and I were 57 years old. And people thought that we were absolutely crazy. Why would we at that late stage start something new? Because there's lots of failures in business around many places. And why would we take a risk like that? Why don't we, whatever it is that I had built up to that time, whatever she was building through the franchise, we just keep it nicely for retirement.
And enjoy the money. Don't risk it.
Exactly. And enjoy the pleasures of travel and whatever, because it's hard-earned money, rather than to put it in a risky venture, especially building a name that would be completely new, that would have to find itself, to establish itself, bring its own opportunities and challenges. And who knows, it may be successful, but it may also not be successful. Sure. That was the risk element. To cut the long story short, I said, we've got the ingredients of success. Firstly, on the operational side, you've had the opportunity to operate a franchise in food. On the business side, I've actually managed large businesses, including franchise operations.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like you said you were in corporate.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask, what is it that you did in corporate that you think also added to you having the confidence to say, I've done this before, one way or another?
Absolutely.
What was your background then?
Yes. No. Thank you for the question. In corporate, I did various roles, but notably, I managed the retail businesses. I was part of primarily two very, very large companies in the oil and energy sector. Mm-hmm. And I am probably one of the people that got very intimately involved with the convenience retailing stores.
Yes.
And I had experience both in the country.
When you say convenience stores, do you mean the one in the...
These are the shops.
What are these?
Garages.
Garages, yeah.
Yes, correctly. Yes, I had a pleasure of being close to those operations, including building elements of them from scratch.
Studying the entire garage from scratch.
Not the garage, the retail shops.
How they would look.
Yes, what offering they should have, what they should look like, and what makes sense from a business point of view, and what role do they play in terms of obviously making the garage owner competitive, because you needed to provide people with some element of convenience for people to come to you. Otherwise, then petrol is petrol. There's no differentiation. So how do you achieve those elements of differentiation? And so the whole concept of convenience retailing at its very early stages linked to service stations, or garages as they are called, I was part of. And I had a privilege of actually even doing that work beyond our country. I did that work overseas.
In other countries?
Overseas. Well, I was based in England for a while, and I did that work there. I did it in the US. I did it in Australia. I did it in Europe at the time. That was the early stages of convenience retailing. I then managed the master franchise of one of these two companies, where I was responsible for their franchise operations. So if you take the structures of the company, the retail support, then there would be a team that supports the service stations from the franchise. But the head of that at some point was me.
Right.
So the business grounding in terms of this, it was not strictly food as a
restaurant. Yes, but the
operations are pretty similar. The practices and the disciplines that you bring across are pretty much as the same. So sure. And the disciplines that you bring across are pretty much the same. So for me, I felt, just to go and link back to the story, I felt that when my wife made the call to say, how about if we started something of our own, that A, operationally shared the experience, B, in terms of running a business, I had extensive experience and the discipline of it. And also you asked me the other things, but I'll tell you just one other thing that's relevant. I also, in my latter stages of corporate work, manage corporate affairs of a very large company.
Corporate affairs. Now, for someone who doesn't know what that is,
okay. Corporate affairs, in other words, the company's interests externally with the community, with your environment, with government, and
social responsibility.
So, an element of which is social responsibility. But some of it would be government leads, and some of it would be linked with NGOs. Some of it would link with just the external side of the business, bringing the relevance of society to a business. So I've had also that experience, which was, to me, would be something that would be very useful, because every business entity that you own doesn't live in isolation. It lives and is an integral part of society. So for me, I felt there was the ammunition, there was the technical know-how. Yes, there was maybe a learning to be had about the restaurant specific. There was also a learning to be had where now you are not operating under an umbrella of someone, but you're operating under your own. So your fundamentals in terms of systems, your fundamentals in terms of processes, you are now responsible for. I mean, young people today, they prefer finishing university and going to large companies because there things are set. There is an HR department. There is a corporate finance department. There's a supply chain department. There is all of that. Whereas when you've got your own business, all of that is you and you and you. And now you can immediately see the skills base that you need to have, the relationships that you need to build in order for you to be able to run in a cohesive way the unit that is yours. That unit has to succeed.
How important is what you just said, when you said the relationships that you have to build and sustain over the years?
Correct.
For you, what would you say helped you when it came to building relationships, maintaining them over the years?
Yes.
And what do you think the role of having relationships is in business?
Yeah, look, relationships are everything. I mean, first of all, in order to get an opportunity, like for instance, where we are now, you have a landlord.
Sure.
And the landlord gives you a leasing opportunity. Now, in order for that lease to carry its life, you have to have a relationship. You've got a community around which your premises are. You've got customers, some of which that will actually hold you very, very dearly. they will walk away if you do not relate to them. You've got to find a way in which your business is embraced by the very people that support you. And building that, you've got the whole supply network of people that actually will make life easy for you if the right relationships are there, including the relationship with the people that you employ. That is actually very, very important. So the power of relationship building, the power of maintaining very good relations in a number of fronts is very, very important. Businesses do not, I've said this again before, businesses do not live in isolation. They are living in society, and that society brings its dynamic into your business. People bring their prejudices, people bring their likes, people bring their preferences, and how they get treated, how you relate to them. It will help you to build a better customer base. It will help to build a loyal customer to you and to your product. It will help you to access and solve problems easier on your supply chain if you have built a relationship, a reputation around the right relationship. Of course, you've got to pay the suppliers on time. You've got to do all the basics, but that power is actually there. And also, businesses these days, you also have to remember that you've got an entity that governs you. Now you've got to have a relationship with them for your licenses, for all the things that are required. So for me, I can say anybody who believes that forming strategic and right relations in business is not an imperative is making a mistake.
So, listening to you, I can hear that over the years, even before you were 57, the skills were accumulated over a period of time. You could have started when you were 35, when you were 40, when you were 50.
Yeah.
But then you chose at that particular point in time, 57.
Yeah.
Where do the guards come from around that time? Where people are saying, now I'm too old. There are people that are thinking, I should have started when I was 30. I should have started when I was 25. I'm 57. Why am I even thinking of starting?
Yeah.
I might as well not do it. So with you, what was the fuel behind you making that decision?
And this is very interesting about the corporate world out there. And we often wonder, why is it again that people, when they finish their education, they go there? It's because they cushion you. On a date called the 23rd of the month, or the 25th of the month, or the 30th of the month, there's something ding, 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 because something is being dropped into an account.
Well, the phone is good.
Yeah, the phone is good. So it is exciting. So you have an assurance. You have an assured sort of income. And you can sort of, at your own pace, build your life. And from a young person, maybe seeking to be married and establishing a family, etc. So there is a comfort base that is there. What one realizes as you are in that comfort is that the growth, especially from the potential that you as a person have, is always going to be limited to the entity around which you are working. And it will be limited to the specific roles that entity gives you. In my entity, I grew up as high as a general manager or a vice president in the company, but I was never a managing director. But in my company, I'm the managing director. Now, the managing director facets of that role are not totally dissimilar to what I could have heard, but that opportunity wasn't there until I created it.
For yourself.
So over time, you actually learn that this comfort that you are having, which is beautiful, by the way, and the skills that you send onto a training program. These guys here in this restaurant, they are waiting for me to send them on a training program because there is no training department anyway. Yeah. So that comfort over time, you kind of like say to yourself, but how can Vusi grow? Vusi surely can be bigger. Then we start thinking, you were talking about the age 37. We start thinking about the fact that life actually is short, right? Life is short. So when I am departed, what legacy will I have left behind? What is it that people would say a man called Vusi Cwane was actually around? Okay. Will I have lived my life, enjoyed myself, gone to holidays and eaten all my money, and that is the end? What do we also leave for society? What do we leave for future generations? So that is not necessarily going to happen if you continue to work for somebody, if you continue to be a part of an entity which drives its agenda and not necessarily your agenda and your potential that you've got. That potential, I think for me, corporates should just be the activators of that.
Meaning being a form of training for you to go out.
It's an exposure ground, it's training, it's exposure to systems and processes and all of those things, people practicing, etc. I am going to say something that possibly may be controversial to people.
Yeah.
If you are in corporate today, if you're in corporate today and you spend more than 10 years there, then you are making a mistake.
Why?
You are making a mistake because then you are denying and you are shortening the time when you could be yourself and when you could grow and realize your potential to the fullest. I'm not saying that one doesn't attempt the ladder, but if you look at the corporate ladder, okay, look at the base. The base is this wide, all right? And as you go up to group C, a group executive, it is short. So how many people are going to go and get there? And the time is moving. So why don't you branch out, seek opportunities? We've got many stories of success of people that were not even the shining stars in corporate, but they found themselves because their interest was fashion. Their interest was media. Their interest was ABCD. And yet they were working for me as a sales rep in my operation. Not necessarily the greatest, because how could they be? Because this is a fashion Mongol. This is somebody who will drive the best dresses in the world and actually compete in Paris, compete in New York, etc. But I am sitting with them and they're comfortable because they're earning something on the 25th and on the 30th of the month. So I am saying, if you want to succeed, use corporate as a stepping stone, but corporate must not be the end for you. The end you need to create. Yes, of course, I'm going to go straight to, I know I've gone a long way in terms of answering your question. Of course, the older we are, society puts its stereotypes to say after 50 you are so old. Maybe after 60 you are extinct, and those kinds of things. And therefore, we retreat into fear. We retreat into saying, I cannot take a risk. I cannot take chances. And yet the ingredients we've got, and yet
all the years of experience as well,
preparations we've got, but we've got the fear because we say, if I fail now, I'm going to make an analogy of an aeroplane runway in terms of life. If I fail now, I am close to the runway. There is no opportunity for me to go beyond. Whereas if you do fail, you will say, I'll try again. Okay? And if that venture failed, I'll try again. It's okay because I've got the time.
Yeah.
So,
but retrospectively, don't you think also for you, the argument could be, because I know I'm at the end of the line, I have to make sure that I actually succeed.
Exactly. In fact, that becomes a beautiful motive. And this was one of the motives that my late wife and I had to say, in actual fact, to be honest with you, we can't fail. And then we started by using the words we can't. And then somebody advised us and said, don't talk like that. Say, we won't fail. We will not fail because we can't afford to. But there is confidence as well. And the confidence is that actually, we have what it takes to do this. But for me personally, I've got to say something else. And I said to myself, hang on. And I don't know if we're going to talk about gratitude because I can say a thing or two about it.
Yeah, but I said about it. Yeah,
I said to myself, if people at that age or at that stage of their life can start something new and make it a success, why would a young person be scared?
And then you become the inspiration.
You become the inspiration. You become the role model. You become whatever it is that you created, something that you can look to. I mean, the restaurant that you're in, gratitude. I've put a word out there that says, actually, gratitude was created by me, but not for me. It was created by me, not for me. Because if gratitude is to be successful, it has to live beyond me. Because it was never mine. It was put there as a source of inspiration to prove what it is that we can do, to prove that even the paranoia that people have about age and those things is actually not correct. If you've got the guts, you've got the wit, and of course you've got to be disciplined in terms of what you do. Because if you do your work in a disciplined manner, ethical, and put all your energies to it, the chances of success are far greater than the chances of failure. And you look forward and you say, the vision is there, okay? I can see it. I'm not necessarily sure how to get to it. And your strategies that you employ, they unpack that because your eye is at the bigger picture. And that bigger picture is a vision of what sort of a contribution do you want to see? What are we now? We're in 2024, in the year 2100. Don't know how many of us think that far. What do you want the society to be thinking about the people that, like you and I, that lived in the year 2024?
But you know, with what you're saying, it makes me think, right? Because one could be experienced in one thing for 30 years, right? But immediately when they start something new in that thing that they're starting, they don't have 30 years experience doing that thing. So for you, what do you think was the mindset that you employed at that particular point in time where you said, I might have had 30 years experience doing this, but this one I've never done before.
Yes.
But I'm going to go out and do it anyway.
They remember the 30 years of experience because of the fact that, I was largely doing corporate work.
Yes.
And I was always supported. It would never be the same because now this one, it brings an element of risk into it. That is where the newness in it. There is no cushion here. So I have to know that as an entrepreneur, and if I talk about, I mentioned 35, 36 years of corporate life, but as an entrepreneur, I do not boast the same period. So I'm aware of that. That is why it was important for me to understand from that, what is it that is transportable that I can actually bring into this to make what I do a success. But I cannot be arrogant and make claims because I've been in business for 35, 36 years. I've been in business under cushion, whereas in the life since 2015, my wife, at least for the first 5 years of that, or maybe 4 years of that, she was an entrepreneur, not under cushion. And then I joined her. So we can say from 2015 to now is what is it?
9 years.
Almost 9 years.
Yeah.
So I count 9 years. I do not count 36 years. But in the balance of those years, there is something I brought into the 9 years. I'm not regretting because, as I say, I believe actually I wasted a little bit of my time. I should have started the journey.
This has always been
15 years earlier.
Yeah.
And maybe today you wouldn't be saying you are sitting at the Gratitude Restaurant in Modderfontein. You would be saying, I'm sitting at one of the Gratitude sites or entities, the one in Modderfontein, because there is one in Durban. There is one in Cape Town. There is one, you can see I'm overlooking water. So this
Okay, it's
brand has got
Devon, Cape Town, Port Alfred,
whatever. But I mean, we're obviously being ambitious now. But yes, that is what we'd be saying, because the proof of concept would have been heard. The proof that this thing works, or if it doesn't work, it would have been changed. Time would have been there. And then the expansion opportunity. I mean, there's practicalities in business. I mean, you need funders, you need all the support that you can have. And then people will fund if they see that you're successful. The later you start those things, the more you deny yourself of those opportunities. And again, I don't blame people that will not move too easily. There's a lot of young people in our country, very successful, because their day-to-day needs are met in the corporate world. But I'm saying to you, if you really want to venture and realize a lot, the opportunity is to start early. Let's think about it. I don't have to mention company's name, but company X, company Y, industry Z, whatever. How did those get started? Ask yourself that question. They were started by people like yourself. Yes. Today, they're successful. How many businesses do we know, especially in the information age, that we know have actually been started by young people and are very successful? How many multi-billionaires that we have today that are young people?
Because they started.
Who did they work for? And why is it that the formula and the recipe of success has to be somebody that we work for? I'm saying that somebody is required, but only as a stepping stone to somewhere. And that is probably what I took. Yes, the risks are there. I mean, the challenges, even with where I'm sitting at the moment, are there. I mean, but I don't regret for a moment that I did it. I just regret that I could have done it earlier.
So would you say time is an ally or an enemy? Or it just depends on where you are and how you are looking at it?
I would never say that time is an ally or time is an enemy. It really depends on how you're looking at it. Time is important, though, to be taken cognizance of, because there are practicalities that at a particular age, your own energy goes down. At a particular age, society prejudices you. I made an example earlier on. You're going to go and look for a funding from the bank. The bank, amongst others, will factor the fact that you are a risk now, and so your risk levels go up. So it can be. But remember, time also has an advantage in that the time that you've spent elsewhere, especially if it was usefully spent, you gain sufficient to be able to build on and to put and build the puzzle of life. The puzzle of life comes together from the different eras of our times. So that is why I will not say a particular timing is right or it's wrong. Yes, for starting a risky venture, the earlier you do, the better. Does that mean if it's considered late, you can't? No, but know what is it that you're taking.
You strike me as a winner, and you've won so many times in your life. What's your relationship with failure?
Failure is because I was working in corporate for many years in my life. I've never really failed, but I've also learned that because I've also studied a lot about the entrepreneur journey, that actually failure is also good.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Failure is also good. There are countries in the world, I think the US is one of them. You guys would know this, where entrepreneurs are actually rewarded for failing.
Yeah.
They're encouraged because the very fact that they actually were bold to put an idea and say, I will develop this idea and say it didn't succeed. They're rewarded for that by actually being given another opportunity rather than being written off. Because as long as it's very clear what failed, what lessons can you pick up from the failure, how do you ensure that through that failed venture, you build something even bolder and bigger and better going forward? So my relationship to failure is of course, in life, we try not to fail. We try to succeed in what we do. But sometimes we make a mistake to think that failure is the end all. It's not an end all, because out of failure emanates good success.
So there hasn't been times in your journey where you had literally felt like you reached the end of the road and you must give up and you didn't?
No, not really. Well, except that I've already said that this, in particular, this venture, this one, the strategy venture,
is Restuarant
is very, very hard. This one is just got some very, very interesting dynamics. Sometimes I do feel like, hey, am I really succeeding on this one? Whereas I know in the franchise operations, that one is flying, and I'm actually happy about that, but I'm not happy that this one, where everything is me, has got dynamics that are such that they're not very easy to manage. So if you talk about worries about, and I mean, I'll give you the practicality here, where the levels of revenue that we are making is not sufficient for the spaces that we occupy. And then you've got the practicalities of landlords that don't care, quite frankly. I mean, they just, at the end of the day, want their money. So if the rent is X, then it doesn't matter what is it that you make. So there's a lot of play that you have to work with. So the world is not ideal, where you would say, if it was my own property, it was my own land and my own franchise, then I would pace myself accordingly. Part of this a failure that one can just chat about
or challenge
is when the pace of,
because you're not failing, you must win. You don't have a choice.
No. The pace is not necessarily always determined by you. So in this particular instance, there's a lot of other things that you've got to manage in terms of pacing yourself appropriately with a proposition. Because remember, even a space like what I'm talking about now, if I go to this particular opportunity that I have here, the ideal is not to have a landlord. The ideal is to have your own land. The ideal is to then put that investment in there, and you know it's safe, it's yours. And then you pace, and you pace with the market, you pace with the opportunities, you pace with the appetite that you have for risk, you pace with the however it is that you can venture and take yourself forward. Whereas when you've got this, you're already told that you're occupying 500 square meters. And 500 square meters, I'm afraid, needs X rent. Where is that rent going to come from? It needs X rent. So that's just one of the practicalities of dealing with this. But again, we're talking about entrepreneur.
Why is it worth it? Why is it worth it? Why?
That's exactly yes. Remember, there's a mistake that we make as people to say, oh, we need to be guided by the financials. Yes, financials are always a prerequisite for any success of any proposition. But again, even financials themselves, and I'm making an example here because there are factors that are not determined by you. But if you think strategically, okay, a facility like where we are, and you look at this node, okay, yes, this is a residential site.
Yeah.
There's an established neighborhood there. Unfortunately, the established neighborhood has got some diversity dynamics, where some of the people in here are not necessarily in favor of businesses that are owned by other diversities. Okay, so you've got those practicalities. However, it's also a growth node from the expansion of Sandton, where a lot of people, especially young people that are still building themselves, are coming into this neighborhood. So one could argue and say restaurants like mine, or even centers like this one, may have been built slightly ahead of their time in terms of full potential. Therefore, your weight in terms of saying, oh, okay, there is even a change in the mix, in the diversity mix of what sits around you, and the future is very, very bright. The balance of chasing that future with the pressure of the financials of today is always the tension that you have to manage. So for me, I still believe it's worth my while. This is a fantastic location that I have here, and it's a growth node, right? And ultimately it will realize, but it's not one of those opportunities. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been here over the weekend. I fill this place up, but then regrettably during the week, I don't get the same train. And that's where now it touches the financials, because I need this community to support me far greater than they're doing at the moment. But some of the community very trapped into the past. They're tapped into how our country has been, and they will support X and not Y. And then. So you have to also deal with that.
And how does one then develop the strong mindset to be able to withstand, especially in periods of waiting?
Yeah.
You know, you described the scenario where you look at where a business is at this stage, right?
Yeah.
And where it's going. You can see what the future looks like. But in between, you obviously have to do the waiting. And how does one develop the right kind of mental toughness that's required, especially for young people as well? Because I mean, I can imagine there's a young guy that was just started a business or a restaurant, and they're thinking, I need to hit it. Next year, I need to be driving a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, you made a very important point there, because a part of this is patience. You have to have patience. The patience that you've got to have. You don't obviously, exercise your patience by sitting doing nothing. There are certain fundamentals that make a business a success. Those fundamentals, like whether it is your customer acquisition strategy, you need patiently exercise. Whether it is to improve the quality of your operations, you need to continue to do that. You need to actually tick all the right things in your box to make sure that the summer period that you're waiting for during this winter, when it comes, you are ready.
So it's basically understanding the seasons of life.
You need to understand the seasons of life. And as I say, at that point in time, please don't have unrealistic ambitions. Like I had set myself a goal to say by after 2 or 3 years, this is where I will be. And therefore, I will have a car, I will have a bigger house. Perhaps the car that you want and the big house that you want is needing another 2 to 3 years wait. And during that 2 and 3 years, you need to continue to do the right things, building that to which you have created and believing in your vision. Because I think the inspiration, your own inspiration, must come from the fact that that vision there, I can see it. I know, as I say, a strategist will tell you that it's cloudy in between. I just do not know how, when this aeroplane is in the clouds, is going to do. But I do know that at some point it comes out of the clouds.
Well, what are the 5 lessons that you learned in corporate? When you think about 5 things that you learned in corporate over the years that you think are working for you now. Right, guys, I'm sure you're watching this episode, and thank you for tuning in. On the 29th of June, you must remember that we've got the It's More Than Just Money Business and Property Seminar that we are hosting at the Polokwane Royal Hotel, which is in Polokwane. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. We had an amazing time in Witbank. We had amazing speakers, and we are going to be having amazing speakers in Polokwane as well. So if you haven't purchased your ticket, please contact our office on 062 766 5612 and arrange for your spot. Seats are limited, but we are looking forward to having you there. Our team is going to be preparing an amazing seminar session for you. I'll see you on the 29th of June at the Polokwane Royal Hotel. More Than Just Money. Continue watching the episode. Ciao, guys.
There's a lot of lessons, but one of them is discipline. What you do, try and do in a manner that is disciplined. Discipline is everything. People don't sort of associate or place a lot of value to discipline. Be disciplined in what you do. That which you've been given to do, try and do it properly and to the best of your abilities. There are frameworks that are set for you. Work within those frameworks, right? And work in a disciplined way. That is very, very important, right? I mentioned earlier on relationships. Relationships in corporate, I could not have done the work in corporate affairs of dealing with the various community challenges that were facing our business if I didn't build the right relationships with the community leaders, with the political parties, with the many, many structures in there to actually relate to those entities so that there's less hostility between the whatever challenges that they have and how they access the business. So the power of relationships is one of the things that I bring here. And also, guys, when you're running a business, it has things that you do must make business sense. And I'll tell you, in fact, I'll give you something that is as an almost contradiction about me. And my late wife actually had the same as well. You'll hear people like Mandy that you've met calling me Tata.
Yeah.
And then my wife was also called Mama. And then. And one of the things that business teaches us is that as much as you've got that affinity towards being called that and the warmth that you want to generate, don't forget that you're an employer. Don't forget that the business fundamentals need to still happen. So when you are saying to the person that is working for you, A, B, C, D, guys, let's do A, B, C, D, you need to be taken seriously. Because especially also being black-owned businesses and my staff also being all black, then that can actually hinge on being, it's just ubaba, and it's family. But the business basics and the business fundamentals need to still be adhered to. So whatever it is that you as a young person out there that you are starting, if it is business, it must make business sense. And bring that, take out the emotions of being a father or mother like us, take out the emotions of being a brother or sister or a cousin like maybe yourself, and then, so that which you do, even your own brother will respect that this is actually a business.
Yeah.
And then the other lesson is the importance of financials. I mentioned that earlier on, although I said to you, they're not necessarily everything, but it is very important that we understand our financials. Because there's a lot of people that, I'll give an example of a brand. Maybe let me mention the name for what it's worth. Okay, no, mention it. There's a brand where the owner of it is an entrepreneur. But she was saying that when I partnered with so-and-so, I got the basic fundamentals of running a proper business as a benefit of that partnership. Because you ask me to start anything, I will. You ask me to activate and generate a creative idea, I will. But this partner brought the business fundamentals in terms of how do you run a successful business. So that is just one of the things. I can go on. I don't know if you want me to go on in terms of the learnings that I've picked up from corporate, but there is quite a lot of lessons in running your businesses properly, being disciplined, strategic relationships, and even having a clear strategy. One of the things I underinvested in here for gratitude was marketing. I assumed because I'm in a center and I'm part of the center and I've got a huge residential backing.
Yeah.
The market was there for me. it was there for the taking in terms of my differentiated offer.
You thought it would be automatic.
Not entirely, but I invested in the effort for marketing.
Right.
Now, when I was in corporate, I learned that people over time thought that they didn't necessarily have to market their product because they were the only ones until the market changed and the market offered a lot of competition.
Sure.
And then when that competition was coming, they were not ready because they used to be the only ones.
Yeah, now you're not ready for something that's new. The change can throw you off balance.
The change that can be there. And these days, there's people that would actually come up with lots of just very, very different things. I mean, how many industries are getting obsolete now because there's been change, whether change is through technology or change is through whatever. They render the product that people are comfortable with are completely useless. So when you invest a lot of time in marketing, you understand the marketing dynamics, you understand the trends, you understand how to reposition yourself. I mean, a big public entity called the post office today is in serious trouble because it never actually did that.
It's almost non-existent.
It's almost non-existent.
Yeah.
Because their marketing investment was not there. They had a captive audience. They had all these products of distributing letters and things to us. Didn't know that these things, they're very...
An email came in.
The emails came in. A lot of things were done electronically. People didn't want to go anywhere. People didn't want paper and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But when I say marketing, I don't mean just marketing yourself for you to be known. I'm talking about marketing strategy in terms of thinking about your market, understanding it, thinking about your product, thinking about your relativity of it to what other people are offering, thinking about what you would look like over the next 5-10 years, and don't make mistakes, which I even made today. I humbly admit to say the amount of resources I put in helping to market this is out of proportion to that which was required. My assumptions that were not tested around, let's say I've got neighborhood here, I've got a new shopping center, I've got ABCD, and if I look at similar neighborhoods that have got restaurants, wow, people flock in them, they were actually proven to be incorrect. So my weekends are full because I am a place of destination. I make fantastic events and people come here to celebrate.
And if you guys want to have a date, it's the right place to come have a date.
Absolutely. There have been lots of pleasurable moments about gratitude, especially when it comes to celebrating.
Why the name gratitude?
Okay. Let me take a pause there. When we were talking about now the next steps in our journey, and that step would be to create our own sort of a venture. We kind of like had to grapple with what is it that we would call it. But our conversation with my wife were that, but hang on, maybe let's just look at ourselves. Let's look at where we were at the time. Let's look at what we've achieved. Let's look at the blessings that have been bestowed onto us. Blessing of family, blessing of good jobs, blessing of good life, blessing of a lot. So we said, actually, we have a lot to be grateful for.
Right.
A lot. Really, we can write books or extracts or papers or whatever, showing how grateful we are about the various things that we've achieved, worked hard, but some of them, obviously, the Lord blessing us. So when we do this place of food, why don't we actually give it a special designation and make it a place of expression where people express their gratitude for life and for what has happened around them, and use it in a form of food as a place of celebration. So we said people can show, because the whole idea of hospitality, etc., people are already relaxed. But what are they doing now? They're reflective about life. They're saying, for all, I've been trying to build these businesses, but I'm happy today that I signed the biggest deal with ABCD company.
And the best place to
show my gratitude symbolically is gratitude. I mean, I've got names in my head. 2 young ladies that were sitting there at the balcony. And I said, sis, how are you? No, I'm fine, Baba. So what's up today? Baba, we're not even going to eat. I need a crown. They bought a crown. And I said, what? This venture, myself and my partner and friend as well, we've been working on it for 3 years. And today, we're rewarded. Today, that day. I've received people here directly from being kept different degrees at the local universities. They drove straight from there to here. Opened with prayer and say, our gratitude today, our daughter, our son, or even an elder, because my education can do it so fast. They have got this. I've had many opportunities already here of young people of the age group of the people that are on this on this interview, actually coming here and saying, please, do not tell anybody. Okay, hide this, hide that, because a moment it has come for them to bow on their knees and make a proposal. And after which,
proposal,
yeah. After which, both parties would actually cry and be overwhelmed by the emotion of the new commitment. And Ubaba, no mama, would actually come to them and say, guys, you are starting a beautiful journey, a very blessed journey. Please remember this day in the many, many, many years of your life coming. Today, you are expressing your gratitude for each other. You're making a commitment in front of all of these people. Yeah. Leave that commitment, and whatever happens in your journey, remember this day. So we wanted, other than churches, of course, please, I'm not taking role of churches and other places like those, but we believe that we could be a very special restaurant that actually focuses on celebrating life's precious moments for people and people expressing how grateful. And interestingly, that we use the word grateful when we were formulating the thought about what to name the restaurant. But what was happening that each time we're getting into the word gratitude. And then we spoke about the company as well. And then we said, oh, you know what? We're originating something new. So it's almost like a new river coming out of a mountain. And then where the river originates, it originates from a well. And then the river comes out of the mountain. And then you have your estuaries that are actually coming out of that into and pouring into another river that is bigger, or even onto an ocean. But perhaps that which we are starting has got legs to be even bigger. And as people express their gratitude. So we then said, even our company is actually called the Well of Gratitude. W-O, gratitude means the well of gratitude, originating from that. Because we believe it's bigger than us. It's an inspiration. It's the future. And if we responsibly do what we need to do, it will live beyond us.
Sure. So let's say there's a young person looking through that camera now. Could be young, actually, young or old.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I'm young, but I'm discouraged. Maybe perhaps they think there are no opportunities in South Africa. Maybe perhaps they're uneducated. And someone could be 57 now thinking, I'm nearing the retirement. What's the point of starting? I hear you, but you seem like you're smarter and you are.
Yeah. I wish I was, yeah.
What would you say to those people?
Yeah.
You know, so I want you to speak to them,
Yeah.
and give them some sort of hope and inspiration.
Yeah. I think as human beings, we must never stop dreaming. We need to dream. When we dream, we see that which is possibly not something that we can touch when we wake up, but it's something that inspires us to look forward to. If the young person has got or even if it's not a young person, they've got a dream to be something and they believe in it, they need to follow that. Money should not be a hindrance. Lack of skills should not be a hindrance. Lack of even immediate opportunity should not be a hindrance. We should be looking to others that have actually been there and study their journeys. How did they make it? What is it that I could do? We should be putting our hands up for help. There is a lot of help. Sometimes there were, I know because I worked with NGOs, there was a lot of money and funding available, but lacking good projects, lacking good proposals. Now, there are people that are actually very good with formulating proposals, people that will guide us. And I am saying, you've got the dream, keep the dream, pursue it, and seek help. Help is there. Don't be discouraged. We don't all start from the same positions. Yes, as I'm talking to you, I'm privileged. I worked in corporate. I did have at least the financial resources to start, for instance, the 2 ventures, both of them. But not everybody has got that. But the resources are there. You do need to have that plan. You do need to have somebody to advise you on how to even make it. You do need to even be advised as to who to approach. But what must make you wake up every day is believing that the dream that I have, again, the analogy of the cloud, the dream that I have remains and it lives. I just do not know how to get to it. And that cloud can be navigated like an aeroplane, goes through turbulence, goes through the darkest of clouds, but it emerges on the other side and lands on the ground.
Do you have a favorite quote?
No, that's really not. I don't like to emulate people, but I formulate my own, I guess.
You know what? And that's the way you can say that. You've got plenty of your own that a lot of people are going to take from this conversation. Is there a book, perhaps, that's your favorite book?
How was it?
Wow. My God, what is this book now? There's a book. I've been so focused on restauranting. I'll remember it now because it was one of the stories of in corporate. One of the stories of success of businesses that actually started, but they had lots and lots of turmoil. I'll remember the name. Where through the inspiration of people, people believing that their vision and dream is realizable, they could actually create even greater things. I think it was who was the author? From Good to Great.
Oh, Good to Great. Kim Collins.
Kim Collins.
Yeah,
one of them. Yeah, they, and you could create beyond just good. You could create great companies. You could create great entities. But there's a lot of disciplines in the journey of moving. From just mere good to greatness. And if you think about it, there's a lot of other material that has been written by various people. I've had a lot of book launches here as well, by the way, at the restaurant, and people featuring. I think one of them was Africa Must Lead, a book written by Victor Komuswat. Yes, he's also a journalist in his part time, and they're talking about the African stories and why now the opportunities in the continent are with us. And it also talks to the fact that it's not rosy up there. But again, we've got that vision, we've got that dream, we actually succeed.
Thank you so much for taking that risk, for employing people, for playing a role in our country. Where people are fearing, you decided that you're going to take that chance and build something that's going to be a legacy, you know. I pray that more people come, support the establishments. And I'm looking forward to the launch in Cape Town in the coming years and the launch in Durban. I personally will be there myself to celebrate with you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Winner's Circle.
No, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. And again, may everybody watching or listening be inspired. May people follow their dreams. May people really believe in themselves and everything that we want to make possible is indeed.
And we say amen to that. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, or maybe perhaps if you are not inspired, I don't know what's going to inspire you. You know, bring you people that are phenomenal, doing amazing work and impacting lives. And I wish your life, I hope it's as impacted as mine was during this interview. And please remember to click on that subscribe button, share this video so that more people could be inspired and impacted. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Well, you'll be seeing me in the next episode. So from me and my team broadcasting from Johannesburg, South Africa, Modderfontein, Flamingo Shopping Center,
yes,
at the Gratitude Restaurant on the rooftop, Baba. See you next time. Ciao, ciao. Thank you so much.
Thank you.